Welcome to Autofaze. On this video, we're going to do some much needed repairs on old Penny the K site. What you're thinking, old Penny has not got a ton of traction on the videos, but I'm not giving up on her. Guys, this is a really cool car. And believe it or not, I haven't really been making that much, and a lot has happened. Some of that is going to what we're going to be addressing today. First things first, we definitely need to tighten up the serpentine belt on this. And it doesn't have the factory one anymore. About 2 months ago, the idler pulley just completely locked up on me. Insert crazy picture over here. Left me stranded on the highway. Luckily, I have some really cool friends. And a buddy of mine with a K-swapped MR2 took his manual tensioner off, came to the rescue, got me home, even let me borrow it for a couple weeks, and so we ended up putting a K-tuned manual tensioner on it. Well, after a couple thousand miles, the belt has loosened up, and we need to tighten it back down, get it back into spec. So that's the first thing, super easy. The second thing, this thing has a massive oil leak. The oil pressure sensor is just dumping oil whenever we drive it, and I've actually put a different one on it. Another buddy hooked me up with one that was used off an engine that he had. Well, that one lasted about 2 weeks and it's doing the same thing. So we really need to get in there and make sure the block is not cracked. I'm hoping that's not the case. It's super easy to crack the blocks on these when you're replacing these sensors, which unfortunately, I kind of found that out while doing some research online. So hopefully that's not the case on this one. If it is, that's really gonna stink, but hey, we do have a spare engine sitting over here. I don't want to go down that road, so hopefully we don't have to. But this time I got a Honda oil pressure sensor, brand new, and I also got some Honda Bond. Now this says it needs to basically sit for 72 hours. Yeah, it takes about 3 days for the perfect sealing. So I went ahead and put this up on the race ramp wheel cribs. And last thing we're gonna be doing on the video is I got this cheap radiator pressure tester so we can test the coolant system, because sometimes when you drive this thing after about 40 minutes or so, sometimes there's a weird coolant smell, and a while back I bled the system. Speaking of bleeding the system, I use this rad funnel that I got off of Amazon, and normally on these there's a little plunger that you put in, and honestly I've never used a coolant funnel before, but this is an absolute game changer. So if we have to drain the system and fix something, I'm stoked to be able to use this guy again. Basically, you know, a little turn knob here, shuts everything off. You can completely get all the air bubbles out. It's a ton easier, less mess. This funnel, I absolutely love it. I don't hope that we have to use it again today, but this funnel is really cool. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, so let's dive into it. First things first, just go ahead and tighten the belt. That's gonna be the easiest. Plus, we actually got it raised, so it's not gonna be too bad, because normally when you're hunched over working on this thing, since it's kind of low to the ground, kind of makes the old back hurt. So let's get to work. I'm excited to share that we did get a new piece of this, sourced it from a parts car that a guy was doing. I forget where he was from, but it was multiple states away. He shipped it in. I think they notched this back in the day so they can just leave the alternator on and pull the swap from the top. Honestly, they assembled these from the bottom from the factory, so it just makes more sense to drop it in and out of the bottom if we ever need to. So I'm definitely going to be replacing this. I think it's going to make the whole overall engine bay look a lot cleaner. And I'm kind of suspecting that we're getting some leakage from this eBay radiator that's on here. So we'll find out when we do the coolant pressure test. So as you can see, we're a little bit loose on our belt specs, so we'll just basically bump this manual tensioner a little bit tighter. Really isn't too hard to do. I actually have a pretty creative way to do it, which I'll show you guys. So if I remember right, this is a 14. Basically, we got to loosen the tension on this. And how they did the ABS delete with the brake lines, it really makes it getting in there a real mess. I'll show you guys this. One day, we're definitely going to redo that. Maybe we'll have the brake line master, Brad Vasco, do that for us, because I absolutely hate doing brake lines. I can never get them to be as precise. But this is just, it's an absolute mess to get in there and work on it. I'll definitely show you guys. But let's go ahead and get this belt loosened. And it is really, really fun to get in there. Ideally, I'd use a really long wrench, right, to do that. But the facts are I don't have a long enough wrench to get enough leverage. And I can't seem to find my breaker bar. So I'm going to use this really old, crappy Craftsman. It's a really fine tooth as far as, I forget how many teeth it has. But it's really It's really, really fine. I'm gonna use this old jack handle. I'm basically just gonna beat this on there. And trust me, I've done this before. Sounds crazy. I probably should have got some sort of a better solution by now. It's been 2 months, but hey, if it works, it works. Oh yeah. That should do the trick. Boom. It's over. Smush it. Put your hand in there. Yeah. Trust me. There would be so much more clearance if this wad of brake lines was not just hanging out over in that little corner. I'm telling you, this thing is gonna work really well. Move these brake lines out of the way. Uh-oh, I got my ratchet set the wrong way. Yeah. All right, look at that. The bad thing is that when you use it once, you gotta beat it down again. So yeah, hold on. All right, ready to put it back on. Ugh. I just gotta loosen it up. So we're on the very bottom setting, so I'll probably just loosen it up just a tad and move it up. Let's try right there. Yeah, let's try right there. All right, belt's back on. And we are still too loose. I'll show you guys. We're still a hair too loose. I'm gonna move that up maybe 3 more notches and see where we're at. This might just be a adjustment, check the tension, adjustment, check the tension. I like to have that adjustment level kind of right in the middle when I do it. So there you have it. We're right in within specs. We're a smidge tighter than being right in the middle of where I like to be, but we're still in that tightness window. So I'm just gonna rock this. I know this button's gonna loosen up a little over time. We'll see how it sounds when we start it, and probably just keep it right there. So that's good. A little bitty drop. You start the engine, it becomes pressurized, and it just makes an absolute mess. Check out all this oil. All this oil underneath the car, it's crazy. So that's definitely our problem. Definitely our oil problem is right there on that oil pressure sensor. So we got the old one out. Of course, the old one was pushing oil out. That's why there was a leak. I'm going to throw some Honda Bond on it. It does say for best results, 3 days. Let's see here. Within 60 minutes, it's dry. 15 to 16 hours rubber-like consistency. We're not gonna wait 3 days. I'll probably just let this thing sit for at least 2 days. That's why I wanted to knock this thing out today. So I'm gonna throw some Honda Bond on it and we'll go down there and tighten it, and then we'll move to we will move to pressurizing the coolant system to see exactly where our leaks are. This Honda Bond actually has a decent smell, not like other gasket makers. Funny thing is, I'm under here looking and we got coolant. My GoPro's not gonna focus. We got coolant on the rear oil pan. We got some right here. That's obviously it's burning off. And then we got some down here. Oh, there's a little bit right there on the slave cylinder. Where is this coming from? We got to track this down. So it looks like right here on the upper coolant housing that we might have a leak. It's hard to tell. It looks like we're getting some runoff towards the front of the engine. And then we have the dreaded, come on, focus. We have the dreaded white crusties on the transmission. So that leads me to believe that somewhere right around here, and I'm thinking it's right here, there's a little bit of wetness. I think this upper housing, maybe the gasket is done, but of course we'll confirm this by throwing the pressure tester on it. But I think that's why we're seeing coolant, especially now since the car has been sitting, on the bottom of the engine. And you also saw some stuff on the front, of course, that has burned off due to heat. Cover just in case. We need to see if there's any potential leaks. I definitely feel like there's one in the front of the engine and possibly one in the back. I do see kind of some residue on the back of the block there when I was doing the oil pressure sensor. So we will see what is going on. Oh, we're so close here. There we go. All right. So I don't know, let's pressurize this thing and see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and top it off with green coolant. That way if it does leak, we can spot it easily. Plan is to only put 14 pounds on this, and then we'll see what happens. I can already hear. Feels like I can already hear something. Okay, we're at 14 right there. Going down, so we know we have a leak in the system somewhere. It's the wow, I'm surprised. Yeah, that makes sense. Come on. Guys, there's our leak. Hopefully it's not the weird looking outlet that they welded on there, but it's definitely leaking from that hose. So we'll address that, and it makes sense. It's just basically it's dripping down, blowing on the fan, blowing on the engine. We just need to tighten this thing up. Wouldn't that be nice for a simple fix? All right. It's probably good right there. All right. Well guys, that outlet's not pretty, but I'm squeezing on the upper hose. We got no leaks. And with how this is mounted, this definitely moves around when you hit bumps, so it makes sense. Everything makes sense. So it's been on here for 20 minutes. Let's see what our gauge looks like. Gauge is still holding, roughly 14. I'm going to end the video here. Just a nice winter maintenance on Old Penny of the K-Site. 3 things that need to be addressed. I am going to go ahead and re-bleed the coolant system. I'm going to let this thing chill for a couple days, just so that Honda Bond can, cure and everything. We'll fire it up. If there's any problems, I'll let you guys know, but I don't foresee to have any. I'm super glad it was just a simple, tightening the coolant hose. The coolant hose does look like it needs to be replaced in my opinion. I'll do that maybe when it warms up. But for now, we're going to get back to driving this thing. Basically all I got to do is bleed the coolant. I'm not going to share that, but I absolutely love that funnel, so I'm excited to use it again. If you guys like seeing videos on Penny the K-Site, let me know. It's a really fun, daily driver style car. VTEC killer setup, not a ton of horsepower yet. I think it'd be absolute blast of a car with around 300. We'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.